Australia 2, Oman 2 basically rules us out of automatic qualification. For us to get auto qualification, we need to beat Japan at home and Saudi Arabia over there, which I'm forever the optimist, but for some reason I just doubt that's going to happen. I can see us winning one. I can't really see us getting two. I can see us getting 4 points, 6. It's going to be tight. Obviously, 6 points on the basis that Japan and Saudi Arabia win their other game in that block of fixtures. It's very upsetting as an Australian football fan to see where this national team is, because I'm one of the very few people who thinks this national team is actually very, very talented. I think with the right coach, and I think that's where it comes down to, because under the right coach, this national team can go places. We've got a lot of people playing in Europe. We've got a lot of people doing good stuff, especially not even in Europe, but in other leagues and even on home soil. We've got a lot of players playing really well, and yet for whatever reason we just can't seem to tick. And whenever we come up against a side that's half decent, like that's half structured, that has some sort of strategy about them, we crumble. Like we're all good being flat track bullies against Vietnam. Like we can beat Vietnam at home, no problem, right? But as soon as we come up against a team that's half decent, we just crumble, and there is no clear plan. There's no clear structure, and there's no chance of us going through if we play it like that against Japan and Saudi Arabia, because we'll just get bullied and we'll get outcoached, we'll get outsmarted, and despite all the quality we have, it won't be enough if we continue playing this just bland, boring, unimaginative, just stale football. It's disappointing to say the least, especially considering the 2019 Asian Cup campaign, which was shocking. I mean, as defending champions, going out in the unceremonious manner that we did, not good. And yeah, it's just really frustrating. I think that's the overriding emotion from most football fans in this country, is just frustration, because we kind of hit this peak. Obviously, like our best campaign in the World Cup was probably 2006. 2010 was okay. Obviously, we got unlucky with Germany. Drew to Ghana, who had a really good tournament that year, and then beat Serbia. 2014 was my first real World Cup. I was 10 years old, so I remember watching each game, and I remember the feeling around it. And I mean, we took the lead against Netherlands. Like, that's not something to be laughed at, right? Obviously, we didn't get a point, but like, I feel like we did ourselves proud in that tournament, considering the group we had. And then 2018 started well. I think we did well against France. I think against Denmark it was an acceptable performance, and then Peru we just completely bottled it. Because if we beat Peru, I think if we had beaten Peru, we would have gone through. And we lost 2-0 in very, very just Australian manner. I think if we'd beaten Peru by a certain amount, but qualification to the next round wasn't out of the question. And then I think if we go through, finish second, we verse Croatia in the next round, and then alright, fine, fair enough, we'll lose to Croatia. But it's just frustrating. Like, it's just incredibly frustrating, because there's no signs of progression. There's no signs of we're going somewhere. And I think it does obviously come from a higher up level in terms of a federation level. And there's so many things wrong with Australian football on a domestic scale and on just a broad administration scale, which I could do a whole podcast on it, right? But if you're talking about the football, because the chairman of whatever can't control how we play, you've got to look at the coach, and you've got to look at the tactics. And obviously, as a Victory supporter, I've never been the greatest fan of Graham Hunt, right? But he gets as soon as he's appointed as a national team coach, you give him all the support. You give him your unilateral, like, partisan support, right? Because he's coaching your nation, right? And I'm always an optimist, but I just can't see us going anywhere under him. I think there's just something missing from his style of play and from the way he conducts himself. I feel like he thinks he's obviously he's obviously not a bad coach, right? Because he coached pretty much the most dominant side in A-League history, apart from Ange's Brisbane Roar, right? So he's obviously not a bad coach, but I don't think he's Australia. I don't think he's Socceroos level coach, and our obsession with hiring successors to every role, I think, has hurt us. I think if you look back, probably since 06, we saw we got Goose, and bang, instant success. Obviously, you're not going to get a coach of the caliber as Goose hitting right every time. I get it, but someone with that international experience, that confidence in himself and in his abilities, goes a long way. And someone who's cocky and arrogant, and obviously cocky and arrogant in a good way. I think Graham Arnold exhibits traits of that, but in a bad way. I think he thinks he's too good for the role. You don't want that. You want a coach who says, I know how good I am. I'm going to take this side to wherever I want to take it because I know how good I am. Graham Arnold, for me, sees I'm just doing this because I've got it, because of X, Y, Z, I don't really care about it. That's what I gather from it anyway. And then from the tactics perspective, just unimaginative. I feel like he finally got that midfield three right in the game against Oman. I don't think you can play. Obviously, Hrstić wasn't available for the first match, but I don't think you can play Moy, Rogic, and Hrstić in the same midfield three if we persist with the 4-3-3. I just don't think you can do that. So playing a Jago or an Irvine, and I think Irvine's a one. He's having a very good season for St. Pauli in Germany. So I think Irvine's that player who you use it pretty much a lock in the midfield, and then you, based off opposition, do you play Rogic, Moy, or Hrstić, two of the three, in my opinion. But yeah, I've rambled about that for a while, but they're just what I think about it because it's not good enough, and it's going to take a miracle for Australia to get automatic qualification. And then obviously if we don't, we verse, at this stage it's a UAE. I think in a one match playoff, or it could be a two-legged tie. I'm not quite sure. And then I'm near certain we play the fifth team in South America. And at this stage it's Uruguay. And we've been here before. So that's going to be interesting. Moving on to the A-League.